the present, and the upcoming future. In bygone days, we engaged in various activities. The activities anticipated to influence. One such activity might be due to past actions triggering a problem or crisis. All right, everyone, could you kindly provide an example of past activities that are currently causing issues? Well, therefore, we must anticipate in the future so that we can avoid similar problems that we are experiencing now. This is what is referred to as crisis management in the field. The problem we face now probably won't happen in the near future. There is always a possibility of it occurring in the future, and that to prevent future issues, we need to implement effective risk management strategies. Please provide an example to illustrate. Excellent, thank you for that. We will proceed with slide 9 and then move on to slide number 10 for further discussion. What do we mean by risk? Go ahead. All student brothers and sisters write yes. What is meant by risk? Then our business risk starts with risk. There are many definitions of risk. They can be different depending on our point of view. There is what we call the chance of loss 2, the possibility of loss 3, uncertainty. The third, the ladies' version highlights deviations from expected outcomes. And the fifth is the probability of any outcome different from the one expected. Risk is often also defined as the condition in which there is a possibility of an adverse deviation from a desired outcome that is expected of hope. Risk is a condition in which there is a possibility of deviation. Unexpected outcomes can occur. Yes, referring to the desired result. This is what we call risk. So that risk is the chance that we lose something. Possibility of plus loss, we get uncertainty, or there are deviations. The tangible results we experience aren't always what we anticipate. The next definition is the probability of any outcome different from the one expected. Opportunity. An unusual event occurred. The result of our output different from what we expected. For instance, us. We anticipate an increase, 10% sales. Turns out, something unexpected occurred, limiting our profit to just 5%. These are some risks associated with deficits. Well, the point is, these definitions may vary slightly, but fundamentally, we share a generally analogous perspective. This implies that we encounter what is termed as uncertainty and the potential for loss. Let me reiterate, uncertainty and possible loss. What do we put in with uncertainty? What do we actually signify by uncertainty? There are at least two possible events with an event probability between and 1, but cannot be 0 and 1. So yes, there are two incidents. For example, a drop in car prices. There's no risk. That's obvious. Looking ahead, if we purchase a second-hand vehicle, the trend of price reduction will persist. The magnitude of the event does not have to be measurable. The important thing is there. This is what we call uncertainty. Yes. Therefore, on slide 12, we shall delve deeper into the implications of loss. Losses can take place if any single undesirable event happens. It doesn't necessarily mean a financial loss, but it's certainly quite unpleasant. So if there's something unpleasant, well, that's also a loss. Example. Please give an example, which is no loss but no fun. Engaging in business involves risk. If we not communicating well, yes, while it may not be financially harmful, it still causes discomfort to consumers, leading them to complain due to our poor communication, which in turn counts as a loss. Another instance is selecting between two different types of shares. If we lose, we call it low. If the stock we buy increases in price but is lower than another stock we did not choose, well, this was also earlier, we call it a loss. Well, in that case, let's sell agricultural goods, including these commodity agricultural products. For example, we could sell pepper as one of our products. Even when the selling price is high during transactions, it might still be early to sell. We could lose out if the price skyrockets by harvest time. This situation represents a disappointing loss. Ideally, we should gain more, but it's a calculated risk. So we minimize the risk because it could not be the price going up, but the price going down. So there's a chance. The price does not always go up but down. This is what we're referring to indeed. How should we create a map? Business processes involve dealing with both uncertainties and opportunities. It's related to objectivity. So if we look here, the red line is indicative of a business process. Current conditions, then we carry out a business process, then to achieve our goals. Well, the objective of this business process is that we must be able to measure our performance. Then what's the impact against the company, on the environment? In carrying out business processes, there are opportunities. Is there a trend? Inside it. This is what we refer to as uncertainty. For instance, threats, conflict. Conflicts in various countries, despite being far from us geographically, can significantly impact our business operations. Whether directly or indirectly, this situation introduces a level of uncertainty. Fuel prices will go up. If fuel prices increase, it could pose a significant threat due to the subsequent rise in our raw material costs. As a result, we will inevitably have to raise our selling prices too. Therefore, it is essential for us to identify these changes promptly. The one there is. The uncertainty that exists.
we need to be able to identify the opportunities that exist.
When Indonesia opens relations, diplomatic relations with a country, for instance, if we engage with previously untapped markets, we have the chance to expand our export capabilities, our products to that nation. This is often termed as positive. Thus, opportunity has a favorable effect on our objectives, yet trade impacts negatively on our goals. Essentially, the influence encompasses both opportunity and probability. Visibility must be measurable to enable us to devise strategies that either pursue or avoid current trades. Now, on the subsequent slide, which is slide number 14, we delve into the concept of upside risk and downside risk. Upside list. Something favorable failed to occur. All students should provide an example. There are positive aspects that fail to materialize, or what we define as unfulfilled prospects. There is no new value creation, no creation of value. This is what we call the apps. Please provide an instance of not generating new value. Proceed with the video painting. The next unfortunate events that occur can be referred to as leaf sites due to their nature. If the company encounters a negative situation, for instance, one of the factories under our ownership suffered damage from a disaster. This is what we call bad things that happen. This is termed a site leaf issue. The second, damage the value of the form. Yes. For example, there are consumers. A certain percentage of consumers report dissatisfaction with our service and this situation, having a negative impact on our company's reputation is what damages the value of the company. Now, this is what we call Sidris leaves. Kindly, does anyone have any experience dealing with this? How about discussing sit-K leaves and upsit in more detail? Okay, slide 15. As we can observe, this is apparent.
The risk we identify here is significant.
There's a cause. Risk will affect the event, and the event will affect the consequences. Now, this is the reason why we must handle it appropriately. Indeed, the event must estimate probability, chance of risk. Well, likewise, there are consequences of this event, impact of the event. Well, to control that, then we have to do an impact treatment. This is what we call risk management.
For example,
prolonged rain. Then it will answer the risk. Stuck in various places. Events will be disrupted. The number of participants will decrease. The consequence is that the goal of the pen is not achieved. To reduce that probability, we need to set the event at that time.
Outside the rainy season.
This represents one of the numerous methods we use to foresee these risks.
Nah. The consequences. It was exactly like that, nothing more or less.
The negative outcomes are relatively few, thus we predict them accordingly. For example, treatment impact treatment. For instance, requesting confirmation of the attendance of the participants we plan to invite.
For slide 16.
Still talking about meaning of this risk.
The one.
Typically, uncertainty is common.
It's connected to various factors.
Events happening or releases in the future.
Let's discuss the concept of uncertainty. Next, we'll explore what the future outcomes might be. Corporate activities include a variety of programs and initiatives.
Ordinarily, profit is expected. Our hope is that it could lead to variations in losses as well. Or perhaps cash flow? The flow of cases that emerge as a result of uncertainty. Well, this is the impact of uncertainty, which will be felt by the company's activities that affect profits, losses, or cash flows. So this risk comes from uncertainty.
Yes.
Therefore, different goals will face different risks. Well, our job is what? Assess it. Assess the risk. Assess the risk.
In order to accurately assess that risk, a comprehensive understanding is required. Purpose of the company.
Or from the company. I repeat, yes, you must understand the purpose of the company.
Well, features.
Objectives must encompass SMART characteristics.
What is HS specifically? Therefore, the goal should be clearly defined.
Clear and highly specific.
The second point is measurable. Measurable. Measurable objectives should be specific and quantifiable, enabling clear measurement. For example, percentage increase in sales figures.
Are the 3 E's achievable or attainable in your context? The goal should be very clear and visible, which means we can achieve that goal.
Don't let it. Something that's hard to pin down.
Similarly, the 4 R's should focus on relevant and realistic objectives aligned with the broader vision.
Aligned with the company's vision and mission.
Additionally, regarding the 5 T's, consider a time bank strategy.
Therefore, establishing that goal is essential. When?
The objective has to be met within a certain time frame, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, or a specific period. This is an essential characteristic of the company's aims. Or SMART?
Nah.
All student brothers, well, please pay attention to this.
This is trees. Risk.
Indeed, we note that the company encounters various forms of risk, including corporate risk. We observe several types of risks: financial, operational, strategic, and externality risks. Well, this financial risk is tested with market risk, liquidity risk, credit risk, capital risk. For instance, market risks include interest rate, exchange rate, commodity, and equity risks. Operational risk, HR risk, productivity risk, technology risk, innovation risk, and system risk represent various types of process risks. We also face strategic risks. There is business risk, operational leverage risk, strategic transaction risk. Well, there is also what we call externality risk, environmental risk, reputation risk, legal and compliance risk. Now, try all brothers and sisters to set an example of each of these risks. Kindly refer to slide 17 for further details, and let's discuss this comprehensively. What is an example of each risk? All right. Risk management. Indeed, there is an established standard that we refer to as SNI 1000. Due to the company's exposure to risks that could potentially cause harm, the company is required to take necessary measures. Effectively managing those risks is crucial for the company's stability. One of the key standards is about managing risk effectively. This is referred to as the ISO SNI standard includes 31000. Risk management is a coordinated activity to direct and control an organization related to risk. Yes, this is what we call the principle of risk management in accordance with the concept put forward by SNI ISO 1000. Write in paint what is meant by SNI and what is meant by ISO. Slide 18. Often, risks cannot be eliminated totally. We avoid it. Our strategy should involve finding ways to manage, mitigate, or lessen the negative impacts of risks. Therefore, slide 19 emphasizes the need for a systematic approach to address this. To address this risk, what actions should be taken, which risks should be prioritized as number 1, which as number 2, and who is responsible for them. This step plays a crucial role in risk management. Well, because of that. Slide 20 elaborates on the concepts of standardization and conformity assessment. Addressing risk necessitates the implementation of these measures. The primary objectives are enhancing quality assurance, boosting production efficiency, and bolstering national competitiveness. Healthy and transparent business competition in trade, certainty, business, capabilities of business actors, and technological innovation capabilities. So, these two goals increase protection for consumers as well as protect business actors, workers, and other communities, and of course protect the country from aspects of safety, security, health, and preservation of environmental functions. Objective 3 is to increase the certainty, smoothness, and efficiency of trade transactions in goods and or services domestically and abroad. Well, this is it. Standardization. Standardization in risk management is important. This is the main goal. Slide 21 outlines the initial stage of the risk management process, defining the scope, context, and criteria.
2, designing and selecting risk assessment techniques. 3, assessing risks. Here we carry out identification, analysis, and evaluation.
Next, we decide on risk treatment methods. Subsequently, we accept risks and make informed decisions.
Lastly, we focus on communication, consultation, monitoring, recording, and video reporting.
Here is the detailed mechanism of the risk management process.
So, in the risk management process, what we need to understand is the scope, context, and criteria. The expectations from risk management by a company's management or organization. Risk management must consider all potential uncertainties under various conditions within the company. Therefore, it is essential to identify risks emerging from all business processes comprehensively.
The ultimate goal is to ensure that the organization can operate effectively and can achieve the company's goals, even if there is a loss.
Slide 3023. This slide continues to discuss the risk management process, specifically about risk assessment.
Risk assessment involves identifying, analyzing, and evaluating all possible risks and their attributes in detail.
For instance, consider the scenario where a farmer faces the risk of crop failure. What's the impact?
Yes. What causes harvest failure?
Company. For example, suddenly. Risk. Raw materials are not available in time. Here we have to identify. What are we supposed to do? What is the role of all risk owners? So we have to analyze company documents to determine internal communication sailors, inspection interviews developed. So if in the company, then company documents, we have to evaluate which possible risks will arise. Hence, is it possible for you to implement a checklist questionnaire or possibly an expert system?
We seek the guidance of the experts.
Can anyone provide a detailed explanation of this? Slide 24.